Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're taking a look at Silent Slayer's basically Reanimate Shadow. It's very similar to mine, running a few different things in it. We've got Goblin Mages, Fienders, mainly to draw into your low 2-drop range cards. Pretty much the rest is mostly stock standard except for running Double Ruler Aisha, which is a really good card. Like, definitely does help with this deck a little bit, especially get those little bit out of reach lethals that might be a little harder to obtain. Personally though, I've had a lot more success with my own Reanimate Shadow over this deck, but that could just come down to practice and just being competent with my own style of play. Otherwise, I actually really enjoy this deck, especially in Dragon matchups. It's always fun watching them kind of squirm against Zeus because it's always an awkward time to drop things. Other than that, we'll get right into it and check out a couple of games. First up, we have Sword as our matchup. Sword is a interesting one depending on the variant. I mean, aggro can be a little difficult, mid-range is usually okay, and control Sword I just really haven't seen any matchups against, honestly. So we start off with our Zeus, which is okay. I do end up dropping the Zeus. I really don't know why I did that. Personally, I should have kept the Zeus because it's much easier to pull Gloomy Necromancer than it is to pull Zeus going into the game. So probably not a good decision to mull it away. I don't know what I was honestly thinking at the start of that game, but the other two mulligans were completely fine and probably really recommended that you do mulligan those really high cards away, excluding Zeus, of course. They go for the Lux at the start, not really a big, blown out play. I can deal with that pretty quickly. Ceres is also going to work really nicely against this, as most of the time dealing with Sword and dealing with Ceres, they usually have an edge in that regard. We do end up getting the Goblin Mage, which gets us to pull into a little Soul Squasher. I'm actually pretty happy with that. Being able to deal with your opponent's boards is usually what you want. So the opponent doesn't really do too much. I mean, 4-1, 2-2, meh, no real big threats. Ceres with an Evo is going to deal with that 4-1 really effectively and stop that 2-2 from easily trading into it at all. So really, I think we're in a pretty nice spot at the start of this matchup. Pure-Hearted Singer, still another again, no threat at all. Maisie, yeah, that's a threat for sure. I can't really do much at all against that, so Ceres is just dead. How unfortunate. But we are going to get the chance to play Fortune Hunter, build our board, and trade really nicely. So why not? Kill the Maisie, set up our own Goblin Mage, draw into something. Does happen to be a Gloomy. This is why I should have kept the Zeus, because the Gloomy is just that good. Alright, next turn, what are we going to see here? We're going to probably see a couple of trades. Maybe not all face. Nope, it did get a couple of trades. I was going to say maybe all face, but no. How unfortunate. We do get our Zeus back, which is fine. I mean, I could have definitely have kept it at the beginning. Luckily, drawing it now is actually really good, just going into turn 7, especially when we top deck the Underworld Watchman, which means we can be a little bit more aggressive here. Kill off that 2-3 really nicely. We've got another Soul Squasher, so it's kind of okay just to throw it down at this point. We don't have any evolves. They do have one. Don't really want to use my shadows though, and I have plenty of other cards going forward to remove things.
The void, it beckons me.
Ultimate Carrot, a little bit of a pain. Pretty much everything here though can be cleaned up by the Black Swan. So that's going to work out really nicely. Alright, now everything could be cleared up by that Black Swan. That or we just drop Underworld and hope, well not hope, but block. Because I think Underworld blocking out this turn and then Deathcaller into Zeus is going to actually be super strong compared to anything else. I could have literally just played the Black Swan and used that, but I think that was just a little bit better for setting up this turn. As even this 2-1 Bane here is going to make sure that I kill that Hedgehog for 4 health, so I literally take nothing overall. I'm going to stay right where I was. And now I can basically just Zeus them down. Zeus into double Zeus, so 4 Zeuses from turn 8 to turn 10 basically. Couldn't have asked for a much better setup. Of course, White Ridge Sword, that's a little bit of a pain. Although, Black Swan could have cleaned that up really well if I wanted it to. And it still does. I mean, using it this way, I don't lose any points off Black Swan. I get to clear the board, deal 2 damage to their face, keep my Zeus up. So really, I actually think that was a nice way to go about it. The other way would have lost me Black Swan actually, so I think that was the right decision. And they end up surrendering, so go us. Following that, we have a Dragon matchup. So Dragon, not as popular as it was for sure. Definitely since the rise of Daria, which I honestly haven't seen any of in the last 10 games, so that's surprising. Keeping the Zeus this time, not being a complete idiot and dumping it, and fortunately, Fortune Hunter Athena, ironic joke, is going to actually give us the advantage to be able to get the Gloomy Necromancer, which is what we want. Although it would be better on 2, so the earlier I can draw Gloomy, the better. Especially since I now have nothing. So they have free reign going forward. Come on, Gloomy! And there it is. Gloomy Necromancer on 2 into a Zeus is honestly the perfect play. And this does set up a nice counter against that 2-2, and the Goblin Mage also allows me to have a turn 3 and 4 drop. So really, I'm looking pretty positive with this hand. It looked pretty grim to start with, but being able to turn it around off 1 card is really nice. Remove that 2-2, we don't want them getting anything off that. And setting up our own 2-2s so we can use the Demon Eaters to draw more cards. Honestly, this hand is pretty nice. It is still going to be a little difficult to deal with reoccurring Baha players, but if I can set up nice counters to those, it should be reasonably fine. Okay, Demon Eater. I'll take that. They are going for the draw and the ramp, not really worrying about the healing so much because they obviously are at full health. And now I've pretty much got free reign of this board, I think. Using Fina, restocks my board to pretty much maximum, is either going to force them to clear, or is just going to force them to try and stack themselves, because they aren't going to be playing a Baha this early, so you're not getting both advantages out of it. Cycle Hill may come down with an Isra, that would actually clear the board quite nicely, but even that seems like it could be a risk, so we do end up seeing the Sybil. Alright. Sybil is a nice counter to that 5-5, although it does die rather quickly. Especially if I do end up using Black Swan here to force out more removal. We don't have a 7-drop though. It's definitely awkward. And I ain't too worried about the Baha too much. The Baha shouldn't really be a major player in this match right now. Just because I do have double Lurching Corpse, which actually synergizes really nicely next turn with a follow-up at turn 8, so it'll be really interesting to see how they go down this path. Sybil's Evolve won't be enough to deal with this 6-1, and evolving anything else is just going to feel really bad. Luckily for them, Blazing Breath, great. How lucky that they had the only card in their entire deck that could effectively deal with that without wasting too many points. Also lucky for me though, I can set up this Lurching and Ceres. With the 2-2 traded in, Ceres gets free trade with that 3-4 Sybil, and I get 1 more damage to their face as I set up for turn 8. Plus this does block a Baha from playing this board really hard, so I actually really like this setup. So Suckwell into... what's it going to be? A Baha! Okay, see, so I made the right choice. Blocking out the Baha plays with that was really, really good, especially since now they haven't decided to trade into the Lurching. I can basically just drop a Zeus, and if they do clear me out, they're going to lose their entire turn next turn. Which means I can literally deal as much damage as I can to their face to optimize my turns. So, 8 damage off, not too bad. We were really close. They are going for trading here. Looking like they're trying to clean up their Zeus and everything else as quickly as they can. Although it does mean they don't get to play their Baha again. And for whatever reason, they ended their turn after the Star Phoenix, even though it would have had a rush. If they had have cleaned it up, they wouldn't have lost this turn, but I feel like they still would have lost the overall game because there just isn't many ways for Dragon to come back off, you know, back-to-back Zeus's, so we would have had it anyway, would have just been a little slower. So while I enjoyed Silent Slayer's deck, I do have to say it's probably not the strongest thing in the current meta. I feel like the Reanimate Shadow that I'm using has just that little more consistency and just plays a little better. I definitely want to add a couple of Aishas into my Reanimate Shadow though, but I think the rest of the core I will keep the same. Otherwise, I still think Reanimate Shadow is a fun deck. Definitely check it out if you haven't. And you'll find the deck list in the description below. If you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.